Hello, everyone. My name is John Brenneman. I'm the president here at MOA Vacation. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We are going to talk about domestic cruising with Anna from American Cruise Lines. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. We are recording this webinar. So this evening you will receive an email. It will contain a link to this webinar, which we'll post up on YouTube. So if Anna or myself say something that you want to revisit, just look at a clock or your phone or your watch or whatever and make note of what time it is. And then instead of having to watch the entire presentation again, of course you could if you wanted to, but let's say we're 35 minutes in, then you can actually just fast forward to that part. Everything we talk about today, the savings, the group departures, and everything else is available to both MOA members and any guest of a MOA member. So if you have friends, family, fellow MOA members, whatever it may be that you would think would enjoy going on this as well, feel free to share this webinar with them as well. We'd love them to have it come along with you. I'm going to turn it over in just a minute to Anna. She's going to talk about American Cruise Line. For those of you that are not familiar with them, talk about where they go, what makes them so special. And then we're going to go through a couple of MOA groups we have. One is for the Mississippi River. The other is for the Columbia River, which includes national parks. And then when we're done with that, Anna and I are going to do a Q&A. So we'll be here to answer any questions that you might have. I am going to actually turn my camera off in just a minute, and I'm going to be answering questions during Anna's presentation. If it is a question that I think other attendees would be interested in, we'll revisit those questions at the very end. So thank you again for joining us. I do often kind of talk a little bit about what makes MOA unique compared to other travel agencies. We always talk about our concierge level of service. We are and we continue to be the only travel agency in the United States that provides travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis. And that simply means what it says. If you have an issue, a concern, a problem, either before or during your trip, you reach out to us and we will resolve that for you. Most of the times, if you have an issue, you will talk to me directly. I like to jump in and get those handled quickly. The industry average normally on problem resolution, if you've ever had a problem before, typically what you hear is 6 to 8 weeks. We try to get things done in 48 hours. And the way they're able to do that is I reach out, if it was American Cruise Line, to Anna, and then she assists us in getting that taken care of. We do guarantee the lowest price on all the cruises and tours that we sell. And then we have a MOA exclusive amenity program. There are about 26 vendors that offer a special amenity for your past and continued service. American Cruise Line does participate in that. If you saw our interview last month with Anna, she talked about that a little bit. The interview was in our newsletter. I think everybody who's enrolled today receives that. If not, good news, you'll start receiving it next month by attending just one webinar. You automatically get a free subscription to that newsletter, but it is a $50 per person onboard credit. So in addition to the guaranteed lowest price, in addition to the savings you get on the groups that we're going to talk about today, you always get that $50 per person shipboard credit. So thanks to Anna and everyone at American Cruise Line for recognizing MOA members and the service you've given for basically most of your life. And then the final thing that we always talk about, point 4 on kind of what makes us special, is the opportunity to travel with your fellow group members. About the half the people that call us or drop us an email about booking their vacation travel. We are a full service travel agency, so we do all cruise lines, all ships, all tour companies. About half the people that give us a call specifically ask if there's an opportunity to travel with their fellow MOA members. So someone will call up and say, I'm looking to go Alaska in September or October. Are there any groups going? So that's a great thing. If you've not done it before, it's literally like getting on a ship and traveling with friends you just haven't met yet because of your shared background. But enough about MOA Vacations. I know everybody signed up because they want to hear Anna talk about American Cruise Line. So Anna, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us more.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Hello, my name is Anna Gsell. I'm the Business Development Manager for American Cruise Lines. And today I've prepared a presentation just going over American Cruise Lines as a whole, and then I'll go into those two groups that we're trying to promote. So let's get started. So first off, who we are as a company. We're family owned and operated, in business for more than 50 years. We build and own all of our ships out in Salisbury, Maryland at Chesapeake Shipbuilding. We have an all-American crew. Fun fact, 90% of Americans can actually drive to our ports. And we're all about elevating domestic small ship cruising. So next up, I have just a short little video showcasing the different regions we travel to. Oh, it might not be able to play, but that's okay because I have a map that can show you instead. All right, here we go. So starting off, we do a lot more than rivers. So the two groups that I'm promoting are going to be on the rivers, but just for your general knowledge, in the West Coast, we do some Alaska tours. The Pacific Northwest would have the Columbia and Snake Rivers, which we'll talk about. The group that we're promoting would be the National Parks and Legendary Rivers. So it's 2 weeks. 1 week is on land and 1 week is on the ship using that Columbia and Snake Rivers itinerary. The Mississippi River region, we have plenty in that area as well. The group I'll be promoting today will be the Lower Mississippi, and then a ton more on the East Coast, from all the way from the Northeast down to the Florida region. So we have over 50 itineraries in 35 of the US states. So our ships are categorized into two different sections. So the coastal ships and river ships. The two categories that are the newest additions to our fleet are the coastal cats or catamarans and the American riverboats. So all built within the last few years. And then the entirely new Patriot class just came this year. So the American Patriot will come in June, the Pioneer in November, and then 2 more in 2026. And we do also have another riverboat coming out this year and another one next year. So we've been introducing 2 to 3 new ships a year the past few years, and we'll continue to do so. And they're all in between 90 to 180 passengers. So extremely small, intimate feel, very different than that big ship cruising. That being said, we're proud to say we have the largest staterooms in the industry. So they're more kind of like a hotel feel rather than a typical cruise cabin. Average of 320 square feet. If you compare that to European river cruising, they have an average of 180 square feet. And they can go up to 620 in a suite. So they're all outward facing. The majority, if not all, are going to have the full walkout patio with 2 chairs and a table. This is just a picture of a standard double stateroom. And this is a picture of just a suite bathroom. So the standard bathroom would just have that one sink, but still plenty of room. And it's nice to have that walk-in shower rather than a tub as well. So going into our dining, all ships have one onboard dining room. There's 3 meals a day served here. Usually an appetizer, entree, and dessert are offered. And throughout the day, staff members will leave cards all around the ship, and you can circle what you would like. This just ensures faster service and less food waste, but not to worry if you decide to change your mind. No worries, you can just let a staff member know. But it is open seat dining, so no reservations. It's full service, no buffets. We invite everybody to sit with different people every night, really get to know everyone on board, and the staff members as well. So our menu is locally sourced and regionally inspired. So a benefit of being domestic is we stop every 1 to 2 days. We source our food locally, but we also give some options aligning with that region. So I was on the Music Cities tour, our itinerary, which is very similar to the Lower Mississippi. And so we did have a few barbecue options, which was kind of neat. If you'll be in the Columbia and Snake Rivers, so I would assume you'd probably have some salmon, as that is abundant in the Columbia River. Besides the dining room, we also do have a back porch cafe that will be available on both the ships that I'll be promoting today. So this is really popular on excursion days, open limited hours, usually 11 to 5, but they serve salads, sandwiches, wraps, just an easy grab and go type of thing. Besides dining, we do offer entertainment. So we have one onboard entertainer and one onboard historian throughout the entirety of the cruise. So the entertainer will play music during cocktail hour. So every evening we'll have cocktail hour, dining, or your dinner, and then evening entertainment following that, kind of on a flow basis. So when we're docked overnight, we'll have local bands and musicians come on board and they'll have entertainment following dinner. Besides that, we have the onboard historian. So we'll provide lectures and presentations about the region or people of the region. And besides that, we also have fun things like trivia and bingo. So on those days that we're just cruising, those are popular activities for the clients. So this is a picture of one of our roof decks on our modern riverboats. So I believe it's actually from the American Serenade, which is the ship that the Lower Mississippi group will be traveling on. So as you can see, there's this 360 gray walking track. It's very popular when I was on my Music Cities cruise, especially in the morning before it gets a little too hot. Besides that, we also do have indoor fitness centers. We don't have any pools or hot tubs or casinos, rather. So only on the roof deck, we'll just have the seating, and then sometimes there's a putting green or a big game of shuffleboard or things like that. This is just another view. As you can see, that walking track and then more seating down below. And then on that lower level, if you can see where that door is kind of on the left-hand corner, that is where that back porch cafe would be. So going into what is included in the cruise fare, we're all inclusive besides some of the excursions, which I will go into. But all of our alcohol, all of our food. I mentioned we have cocktail hour every evening. During lunchtime, beer and wine is served as well. But because we're such small ships and we're domestic, we can easily access things. So if you have a request of a specific liquor or something that you would like and we don't have it, please let a staff member know. We like to be flexible and ensure our clients have a great experience on board. Besides the 3 meals a day, there's cookie time twice a day. There's plenty of snacks. All of our entertainment is included, laundry, library, Wi-Fi is included, and gratuities is also a big one that's included in your cruise fare. So our excursions are categorized into 3 sections. So the featured are the ones included, so walking tours or bus tours. Premium would be that extra 10 to 95 per person, and that could be a wine tasting or a museum. And signature would be that highest tier, over 100 a person. And they're not as many offered for signature because they are limited availability. Some only can hold 5 people. So if you can imagine 180 people on that cruise and only 5 get to go, a bit unfortunate, but it's first come, first serve. So 60 days prior to embarkation, you and your agent will receive an email to go onto your cruise portal and sign up for those excursions. So I just recommend being on top of that, knowing when that date is, and fingers crossed you can get all the ones you would like. John also did mention for MOA, we are offering that $50 onboard credit. So that can be used towards those premium excursions. Because we are all inclusive, that's kind of the only thing that you would use it on. So we do offer some complimentary pre-cruise packages for select locations. So both of these itineraries will have that complimentary pre-cruise package. What this means, 1 night stay at a centrally located hotel of our choosing, and then transfer to the ship the morning of embarkation. So we don't provide transfer from the airport to the hotel or the ship just because people arrive at different times. But we will, that if you have that pre-cruise night, the motor coach will pick you up the day of embarkation and take you to the ship. So we offer a flat rate of $495 per person for our domestic airfare, excluding Alaska, which is $895. This is totally optional. It really makes sense if you're traveling far and your itineraries start and stop in 2 different locations, because we know one-ways can get pretty expensive. We use the major airlines, American, United, and Delta. We can even use your loyalty number to gain miles as well. And this is also just for convenience. So if there's any delays or changes, we will deal with it rather than having that stress and pressure on you. Besides that, we have handicap and medical equipment accessible. So our demographic is a little older, so we know that this is definitely a priority of people's. But as you can see, our ships get up really close to shore. There's kind of a clamshell opening that American Serenade is actually the riverboat, the exact one that the Lower Mississippi group will be on. But it's really easy on and off for those excursion days. People will go off the ship, go to an excursion, come back on board, maybe go to that back porch cafe I was mentioning for lunch, and then head back out again. It's pretty accessible. We do also have handicap accessible staterooms, although they are few. As long as you're on top of it, you can probably get one. We can do a handicap bus for excursions. We have other medical equipment. And then please note for the National Parks and Legendary Rivers, which is one of the groups I will promote, there's limited access to medical facilities when you're in the parks. There's altitude, rough terrain, and it's categorized into low and moderate walking groups. So that's just something to note if you would like to do that itinerary. So groups minimum would be 10 passengers, maximum is 40 passengers. And for that National Parks and Legendary Rivers group, max for that portion of the itinerary would be 40. So this specific one that I will talk about, you'll start on the cruise. So not everybody on the cruise will be traveling to the national parks with you. But besides that, some perks with groups would be the $600 off per stateroom, and then that $50 onboard credit that I mentioned. So once you book, this will be kind of what your guest portal will look like. So you will gain access to this. It'll have all of your cruise and ship info. You can make all of your payments. This is also where you will sign up for those excursions. And then when the cruise happens, you should just be able to, you'll have a little lanyard, they'll scan you in. You won't even need to bring your ID or anything because everything will already be uploaded. So we do have a cancel for any reason protection plan. This is not an insurance, but as you can see, I had a side by side. So on the left-hand side, it's not the plan, but we do also issue some refunds if you do cancel. And then the cancel for any reason protection plan is on the right-hand side. So we have a basic and a deluxe protection. So if you get that deluxe, it's the highest protection, and you can get up to 80% in cruise credits if you cancel 9 days or less and up until the start of your cruise package, and that can be used for within a year to book another cruise. So I talked a little bit about our demographic already, but 60 plus, retired, semi-retired, affluent guests, maybe some that have experienced outside of the US and don't want to fly anymore or don't want to go too far. Typically it's couples, but we do have solo fares. I know that is also a popular option for MOAs. So for the specific itinerary, on the American Harmony, so that would be the National Parks and Legendary Rivers, there's 8 single balcony rooms. So it is limited, kind of like the handicap accessible, but that's something to note if you are a solo traveler. There will be 7 offered on the Serenade, which is the Lower Mississippi. So for an example, it's going to be about $14,000 per person for a standard double stateroom for the national parks. In comparison, it would be about $15,700 per person for a single. So it's a little bit more, but you know, not anything crazy. So now we're going to talk about the 2 groups. So starting off with the Lower Mississippi, this one will be 9 days, 8 nights. If you can see, there's a map in the upper left-hand corner of where we stop, but I'll go into those a little bit more in depth. But we'll be starting in Memphis, ending in New Orleans. You'll be on the American Serenade, which is a riverboat, and it'll be June 6, 2026. So here is a deck plan. All of our ships are between 4 to 6 decks. So this one's sitting right at 5. If you can see, it's a little hard, but The fifth deck, that top deck, will have the full sun deck. So that picture I showed you earlier with the walking track and all that seating, that's taken from the American Serenade. And then there's a few other lounges on the floors. The restaurant is on the main deck, and then the rooms fill up the rest of the room. So the American Serenade was built in 2023. It holds 180. It operates on the U.S. rivers. As you can see, this definitely some modern decor. This is a picture from that roof deck, the indoor portion before you get outside. But like I said, there's the back porch cafe. There is the dining room, the walking track fitness center. There's a multi-story glass atrium in the middle of the ship. The easy boarding access, and then there's an elevator. So there's an elevator on all of our ships besides 3 of the older ones, but for these 2 groups, there will be elevators. So starting off, day 1 would be your pre-cruise package. So you would fly into Memphis International Airport if you were flying. This particular hotel does have a shuttle number, so you don't have to worry about calling an Uber or a cab. And they'll just pick you up from the airport, take you there, and it'll be 1 night included. This particular itinerary does have a Graceland experience. So if you purchase this, you would just get an extra stay. So 2-night stay at Graceland. You also get a Memphis City exploration tour and get to see some Elvis memorabilia that is often not showed to the public. So if you're interested in that, could be a neat option. Day 2 is your first day on the ship. So this is just a cruising day. The motor coach will probably pick you up from the hotel around 10, so not too early. The drive shouldn't be more than 30 minutes. You will board the ship and immediately go to your rooms. Following that, there's a dietary talk. So if you need to talk to the chef directly about any dietary needs, feel free to do so. Following that will be a presentation about American Cruise Lines and the specific itinerary you're traveling on. And the rest of the day is just for you to unpack, unwind, and there will be the cocktail hour, dinner, and entertainment that evening. So day 3, you're arriving in Cleveland, Mississippi. This is the first excursion day. So usually when we stop at a port, there'll be a local loop. So this is just usually a hop on, hop off bus tour, usually downtown. And then if you can see, I categorize into blue and red. So the blue would be those featured, so the ones included in your cruise fare. The red are the premium, so what you can use your onboard credit towards. And then I also do have a few green ones that are the signature ones, although there's not as many of those. But going back to day 3, you would visit the Grammy Museum, Mississippi. So this is one of 2 Grammy museums in the world. There's a railroad museum. Once you get to day 4, you're going to be in Vicksburg, so another local loop. In the antebellum Vicksburg experience, you get to visit Tully's Cave, Duff Green Mansion, and Christ Episcopal Church, so get to see some Gothic architecture there. Day 5 is a big day of excursions. As you can see, there's a lot offered. You won't be able to do all of them because some occur at the same time, but you should at least be able to do 2, maybe 3 if time allows. But exploring Natchez. Natchez is known for their antebellum architecture. The cotton and music then and now would be, you get to pick some cotton, listen to some music of the region. The legends and libations would be tasting 2 cocktails from the region, and a few other excursions as well. Day 6, you're arriving in St. Francisville, Louisiana. So again, there's that local loop. The Myrtles is said to be one of the most haunted homes in America. The Audubon Historic Site, you get to learn about him as an ornithologist, and you get to go into his home. There's a cooking demonstration, a blacksmith demonstration, museum as well. Day 7, by this point, you probably are going to be a little tired, so it's nice that it's just a day of cruising. Feel free to take advantage of that patio, maybe bring a book if you're into reading. Like I said, there's trivia and bingo on these days, so it's kind of up to you, but there definitely is enough activities to keep you busy if you'd like to keep going. Day 8, you're arriving in Oak Alley, Louisiana. So the Cajun Pride Swamp, you get to see some wildlife like turtles, herons, raccoons, egrets, gators, things of that sort. And the sugar and spirits experience would be a cane sugar coffee factory where you get to actually make your own, which is kind of neat. And day 9 would be the conclusion of the itinerary. So that morning, there would be transportation to the airport if you would like. So it's around 8:30, I believe, you depart. But I meant to say there's going to be a city exploration before that. So before you go to the airport, you get to explore New Orleans. So French Quarter, Garden District, and all the mansions it has to offer. All right, so this is the second group I will promote. So this is double the length. So even longer, it's going to be 16 days, 15 nights. We will use our Columbian Snake Rivers ship itinerary and then add this land portion after. So this specific one will be starting in Portland, ending in Jackson. You'll be on our American Harmony riverboat starting in August 1st, 2026. And I already mentioned max 40 people for this land portion. So all the entrance fees and the curated experiences within the parks are included, all your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then there will be beer and wine offered at the meals, and you'll have a designated guide with you at all times. So usually one for every 20 people, so 2 American Cruise Lines guides through this process. Here is the deck plan for the American Harmony. So this is 6 decks in comparison to the Serenade, which was only 5. So basically the main difference is the sun deck is kind of split into 2 decks. So the 6th deck will just be a little bit smaller. 5th deck will have a little bit of sun deck. The 4th will have some lounges. And again, the main deck has the restaurant. So I included a few more pictures for American Harmony because all of the pictures I was showing you before were actually from the Serenade or maybe the Symphony, which are the newest ones. The Harmony was built in 2019, so a little bit different, but not too much. We've also done some renovations in 2024, but as you can see, the upper left-hand corner, that's that sun deck. And then the bottom left-hand corner would be a standard double stateroom. So pretty similar, just a little bit different decor. And then the upper right-hand corner would just be one of our other smaller lounges that I had not shown you before. The other difference would be that there's no outdoor walking track that I showed you on the Serenade, but there is a fitness center. So first day, again, is that pre-cruise night. So you would fly into Portland International Airport. If you are flying, you'd get a shuttle service to the Embassy Suites. And then day 2 would be when the motor coach picks you up, getting settled in, kind of the same process as the lower Mississippi one. And you would get to enjoy Mount Hood and Mount St. Helen from the ship this day. Day 3, we're arriving in Astoria, Oregon. So Astoria is known as the little San Francisco due to all the Victorian homes kind of cascading down the hill. You get to learn about Lewis and Clark, a bunch of history there. Main Street in Astoria, Oregon was actually burnt down twice, so they had to rebuild it. The local loop will include the Heritage Museum, the Flavel House Museum downtown as well. Day 4, you'll be in Coloma, Washington. So you get to drive through the Cascade Mountains, learn about the eruptions of Mount St. Helens. And then there is a dot shop gallery painting class. So you get to learn about the history of that from the indigenous cultures. Day 5, you're arriving in the Dallas, Oregon. So a lot of different excursion options. We have a few signature ones, which is that highest tier. But there should be wildlife such as eagles, osprey, maybe even some otters. The Multnomah Falls is a 620-foot waterfall. I would assume there would be a presentation about the Bonneville Dam before you actually go through the lock system, because there was one on mine, and it was not nearly as big as the Bonneville Dam. I believe there's 8 locks through that. So it's kind of neat to hear about it and learn before you go through it. There's also a kayak adventure in more of a local mellow river, but that would be limited availability as well. Day 6, another day of cruising. The gorge is known for its towering cliffs. You might see some windsurfers and kiteboarders. Day 7, we're back on the excursion grind. So we've got a lot of different options. You can learn about Washington's history from the Ice Age through the Atomic Age, learn about Sacagawea and how she helped Lewis and Clark through their journey, learn about Pendleton and all of its entertainment back in the day. And we are now at day 8. So cruising the Snake River, Clarkston, Washington. So there's going to be the Hell's Canyon boat adventure. This fits between 20 to 40, I believe, passengers. So again, not everyone can go on this one, but I definitely recommend that one. And I would say the Flight Seeing Adventure, but this one is only 5 people allowed. So probably our smallest excursion availability. Besides that, Lewis and Clark Discovery Center, a winery tasting. And then day 9 is when that national parks adventure begins. So you will disembark the ship. There will be a small cruise on Lake Coeur d'Alene, and you will travel to Kalispell. So Glacier National Park is day 10. So this spans over 1 million acres in Montana. The famous Going to the Sun Road is a 50-mile road that offers breathtaking views. You'll enjoy Lake McDonald, see impressive glaciers, valleys, waterfalls, mountains, flora and fauna, and then you will stay at Glacier International Lodge in Montana. Day 11, already traveling to Yellowstone. So this is a full travel day, but feel free to just sit back and relax and enjoy the scenery. There will also be a guide kind of talking about the history and what you're looking at. And then you will also stay in Yellowstone Park at the Spring Hill Suites. Day 12, so now we're going to explore Yellowstone a little bit. So fun fact, Yellowstone is actually bigger than Rhode Island and Delaware combined. So it's huge. That's why we're here for quite a few days. It has over 290 waterfalls. The Norris Geyser Basin is one of the most extreme environments in the world. And then the Tower Fall, you get to see the beautiful waterfall, and then there might be a chance of a black bear sighting if you're lucky. Day 13, you would get to see Yellowstone Lake. So that's one of the largest high elevation lakes in North America. You can explore West Thumb, Artist Point, Yellowstone Lake, as I said, and then evening entertainment will either be at Yellowstone Playhouse or Meadowview Ranch Rodeo. So day 14 is the last day in Yellowstone. So Old Faithful is this geyser. It erupts every 90 seconds. It's one of the most predictable geysers in the park. Biscuit Basin is another colorful hot spring and geyser. Day 15, you arrive to Grand Teton National Park. So there's a scenic cruise. The Jenny Lake Visitor Center is where you get to see a reflection of Grand Teton off the water. And then the National Museum holds a collection of over 5,000 artwork representing wild animals from around the world. And day 16 is your transfer to the airport. So this is the conclusion of the itinerary. You will have transfer to Jackson Hole Airport probably sometime in the morning around 8:30. So that is all I have for you today. We will now open it up to Q&A. And as you can see, this is MOA's contact info, phone number and email. So thank you so much.
Fantastic job, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you.
We first off, just a reminder, I know a couple people came in late, so we did record this like we do with all the webinars. So when this is done, we actually download it from Zoom, edit it, and which is basically just trimming off the beginning, and then we have to upload it to YouTube. So that does take a little bit of time because it's about an hour-long video both ways. But tonight you'll receive an email with a link to YouTube so you can watch this video again or share it with any friends and family you know who might be interested. We did have some questions If you have a question, there is a little Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. Your mouse or your finger, if you're on an iPad or your phone or whatever, you should be able to see it. Just go ahead and type your questions in there. I'm going to go ahead and kind of revisit the questions that we've had already. The first person asked about that MOA exclusive amenity of the onboard credit. Just so you know how those work, we actually go to American Cruise Line and basically negotiate those types of deals, explain to them who MOA is, what MOA is, and those types of things. And so you do need to book through MOA Vacations in order to receive that. If you book through another travel agency, unfortunately, you don't have access to that. If you book direct with American Cruise Line, depending on how long ago you booked it, we may be able to move that booking to us. But typically that's going to be in a time period. Anna may know what that time period is, 30, 60 days for sure before you make final payment. After final payments, maybe we can't move it. So unfortunately, to get the MOA exclusive amenities, you have to book through MOA. Somebody asked about, Anna, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I believe it's 2 weeks, but I'll
2
double
weeks?
check.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, maybe we'll have somebody that's outside of that. We can certainly check to see if an exception can be made. But anyway, the next questions was, is it adults only? And I can kind of tell you what I said. Perhaps you can expand upon that. It is not adults only. It does not have an age restriction, but the overwhelming majority of people that go are going to be more seasoned travelers just because of the type of itinerary it is. Anna, did what I say is correct or?
Yep. I've only heard of one scenario where there were grandparents taking their grandkids. They were in high school, so I think they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the history, but again, it's just not really tailored for kids. So
Yeah, we've done a couple of river cruise groups in the past. We did, Mississippi before and Columbia River before, but that was years ago. But we did Duro River, I think it was in 2022, and a member brought their grandson. And we just did Danube holiday markets this past December, and some parents brought their daughter. I think the grandson was 16 or 17, and I actually was on that river cruise for the Danube holiday markets, and she was like 13. But there are no kids activities on board or anything like that, and wasn't really an issue in either one. In fact, I think everybody else in the group thought it was great that they had a grandkid along. But it is not going to be a carnival cruise. I went on a cruise once, I think it was Royal Caribbean, but it was over Thanksgiving, and there was like 600 kids on board. So it will never be that. And there's not, it's just not that type of itinerary. The next one was asking about the hotels, and with the number of ships, the number of itineraries, I know it varies a little bit. I did share that on Columbia River, we do know that it's the Embassy Suites by Hilton, so a very premium hotel on that. When I looked at the information for our Mississippi River cruise, it says premium hotel to be determined. I don't know how far out those are determined. With all the different itineraries you do, maybe you could just kind of talk about what kind of hotels that you guys typically use to try and answer that a little bit more in detail than I answered it.
yeah, I would say typically Embassy Suites is a popular one, Spring Hill Suites, kind of all in that region. Sometimes there's a Holiday Inn, but typically we use Marriott's and Hilton's. And I can go in and see if, while this itinerary is far out, I could maybe see if there's one that's closer, maybe in 2025, and I could see where they're staying, just so you have an idea of what might be the case.
And as I said, I think in a couple of the answers, you see our telephone number, you see the email address. We have cruise consultants who do this all the time. So sort of like what Anna's talking. So if you're looking at the groups, we can kind of help you out there. But with all the different itineraries, it would be best to either call or just drop us an email and say, kind of what you think it would be. If sort of what Anna said, if it's far enough off and they haven't got it locked in for sure, we can at least give you an idea of who they're using currently, with the expectation that they'll probably continue to use that hotel or something similar. But they are premium hotels. And then the last question was about the beds. Once again, there's 19 ships, if I remember correctly. So I'll let you expand upon this, but obviously with 19 ships, it may do different from some ships. But obviously, the single staterooms are going to have a single bed. I guess the question was, what size is that? And then, don't most of the double rooms, the double occupancy rooms, have convertible beds, Anna?
So yeah, in the double staterooms, it'll be just two twins pushed together, and the
Okay.
single rooms will just have one twin.
Okay. And then in the single rooms, it's just a single twin?
Yes.
And that's the
Yeah,
same
if
for
you're
the,
in a double stateroom with somebody else, that's why we,
yeah,
put them together so we can separate them.
absolutely. So the suites are the same thing, and that's kind of the same fleet wide.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I was wrong. I said it may vary from ship to ship, or it may be different
Pretty
between
standard,
suites and
just
staterooms. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it is pretty standard for cruise lines, be it even ocean or river. So of that. Okay. I got to grab a couple more questions that have come in that I didn't get a chance to answer during your presentation. Not sure. Okay. Someone, how realistic is it that someone could get dialysis on the Snake Columbia River cruises? Are they near a town that would offer that 3 times a week?
I would have to look into that. I mean, we know medical facilities along the way. We're familiar with that in case of emergency, but in terms of that, 3 times a day, I'd have to look
Three
into
times a
that.
week, but yeah.
3 times a week. Oh, yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Um, so Lenny, okay, so I have your name. So when I get that information back from Anna, I will have your cruise consultant. I recognize your name. Actually, I think I've cruised with you before, Lenny. So if I remember correctly, Mike's your agent. So we'll get that information passed on to Mike, so Mike can reach out to you with that answer. Um, what would the cruise fare be for a solo cruiser on the Columbia River and National Parks cruise? Am I correct on that ship that there's two options for single staterooms? There's supposed to a single and a single balcony.
They are all balconies.
Oh, all the single staterooms are balcony staterooms. Okay.
Yep.
Len, we can get you that information. And then as far as the sail dates, I think I was answering questions, so I may have missed it. Did we give the dates for the two groups?
Yep.
Okay.
So
What was the date for the Columbia River and National Parks? I can look it up
June
as well.
6th, 2026.
June 6th of 2026. Yeah. When I send the email out tonight with the webinar, I will include more information about both of the groups. Kind of just an itinerary map and kind of the pricing and whatnot. But once again, it's always best to give us a call or drop us an email. So that would appear to be all of the questions we have at this time. Hopefully everybody has our contact information. If not, it will be included in the email you'll get tonight. I know a lot of times people will listen to the webinar and then 10 minutes after it's over, an hour or two later, you'll think of a question you wish you would have asked. If that's the case, just give us a call or drop us an email. I know a lot of times people don't want to call until they're sure they want to go. So you can just send us an email, and whatever that question may be, you can just drop us an email, and one of our cruise consultants will reply to that email. So if you have any questions that you think of later, we'd certainly love it if you could join us on either one of these or both of them. As I said, if you have not gone on a group cruise with your fellow MOA members before, it really, I think, adds a lot. I've escorted a number of MOA groups over the years, and the feedback we get is just great. And it's not just the camaraderie, but it's the respect and consideration that MOA members have for their fellow MOA members. You can really tell a difference. It literally just adds a lot to kind of share the experience with people who have similar backgrounds. So if you're interested, reach out. We'd love to get you more information. We'd love to get you on a MOA group. I'm sure you'll love it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. As I said, if you haven't previously been getting our newsletter, you will continue to get it from this point forward. Just one newsletter that goes out once a month. I want to thank Anna for taking time out of her busy schedule to join us today. I know she's got a pretty large territory of agencies she handles, and she's a very busy woman. So taking an hour and a half out of her day to spend with us on behalf of myself, MOA, and all the people who joined us on the webinar, either live or are watching the recording. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I'll turn it over to you for the final word.
All right, yeah, I just want to say thank you for joining, just learning a little bit more about the groups or just American Cruise Lines as a whole. And we love working with MOA, so hopefully we get quite a few signed up for these two groups. So thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Yeah, and just saw a question about the pricing for the June group. It's going to depend, as all cruises do, on the cabin accommodation that you have. So the email that you get tonight that will have the link to watch the webinar will have the for both Columbia and Mississippi. It'll have the itinerary map, and it will show the price for all the different cabin categories. And then, you can pick on your own, or you can give us a call or drop us an email and kind of say what's the difference between, this category and that category. But we will include that for both the groups in the email you'll receive this evening. So once again, thanks everybody for attending, and we hope to see you at the next one.
Thank you. Have a good one.